democracy is really facing a great challenge, and time is up for democracy. How long can the international community wait? By waiting, you play the game of Mr. Hun Sen.
The saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them. But there's a third option that critics say Cambodia's Prime Minister has opted for, simply getting rid of them. The country's Supreme Court has dissolved the opposition, Cambodia's National Rescue Party. After its leader Kem Sokha was jailed and charged with treason, Prime Minister Hun Sen called on the court to disband the party. Now the Prime Minister's biggest political threat has been eliminated. But Hun Sen says next year's elections will go ahead as planned. Rights groups say it won't be a fair vote, and Kem Sokha's number 2 has called it the death of democracy. So what does the future now hold for the opposition? Well, to answer that, I'm joined by Monavithya Kem in Washington, D.C. She's the Deputy Director General of Public Affairs for the now dissolved Cambodia National Rescue Party. She's also the daughter of jailed opposition leader Kem Sokha. Monavithya, good to have you on the Newsmakers once again. Is it the end for your party?
Thank you for having me.
Now that it's been dissolved, is it over?
It's definitely not over, and the decision to dissolve the CNRP was expected. It's expected. It's Hun Sen shifting the goalpost. If you remember correctly, over 2 months ago, we were all saying that the arrest of Kem Sokha was the red flag. I'm sorry, was the red line, and now the red line is the dissolution of the CNRP altogether from existence. And I believe that what needs to happen next is needs to be individual sanctions happening to the individuals that are responsible for the crackdown. There needs to be visa ban, financial sanction on these individuals. So statement alone cannot do right now. The international community need to act. And I think so far they have taken the wrong approach. Instead of preempting a move, they are reacting to the move after the damage already happened. And some of the damages are permanent.
But it's interesting that they accuse Kem Sokha and the party of collusion with the United States in trying to enact a color revolution. Wouldn't sanctions just play into their hands now, and they can say, you see, we told you, America and the West are trying to unseat us, and they're trying to get rid of your democratically elected government. Won't they spin it like that?
It doesn't matter how they spin it. They don't have an audience. Both inside and outside the country, people see it for what it is, which is Hun Sen is afraid of a free, fair election, and he is getting rid of the opposition party and leaders.
Any updates?
So, and I think
yes. So let me just come in there. My apologies. Any updates on the status of your father? Because we heard a few weeks ago the judge saying that they will extend his incarceration. Any recent updates?
My mother visits him a few times a week. He is in good spirit. He's encouraged by all the statements by the international community calling for his release, and he believes that his sacrifices will not be lost, and that solution can be reached soon. He will be questioned by the investigating judge, I believe, for the second time on November 24th.
And so you have your father incarcerated. You have you and others in Washington, D.C. There are these protests in the diaspora. Sam Rainsy is on the outside as well. Tell me what your plan is to try and fight back, given that you're sort of disparate and all over the world.
Well, I think there are two key stakeholders here. One is the international community, and the other is obviously the Cambodian people ourselves. So we can do very little inside Cambodia, as you saw today. A lot of our members cannot even move, literally. Some of them can't even leave their house. Some of them can't even travel because of the severe crackdown and monitoring from the authority. So then what can be done outside? For the last 2 months since I last spoke to you, I have been in Brussels and in Washington, D.C., urging the international community to not only express concern to the Cambodian government, but also to express the repercussion, to communicate the repercussion of what would happen if the current situation is not reversed. And I believe that the Cambodian government understands very well what to follow if the situation is not going to improve or get better. However, I think Hun Sen is very practical and he's very calculating. He is buying time. By him putting more pressure, incurring more damages, the solution would take longer. For example, if the donor were to impose economic sanction, as we know, that would take a while. It won't happen the next week or it won't happen tomorrow. So time is not on our side right now, and we are running out of time. So whatever action the international community need to do, it needs to be immediate. For example, the number one thing, the first thing that the international community can do, in particular the EU, the US, Japan, and Australia, is to issue a statement that they withdraw from the electoral assistance in Cambodia and that the election is now already pronounced not free and fair. That's the first thing that they can do that will not hurt the Cambodian people and that will be effective. And number two, again, it's individual sanction. It's both in the form of visa and financial sanction. And I think those alone, if they act soon, would be able to salvage the situation. But we are running out of time. If things do not happen by the end of this year, there's absolutely cannot be enough time for the CNRP to prepare for the July election next year.
For Cambodians who want to take to the polls next year in that election, will they be wasting their time?
They will not go to the poll if CNRP is not on the ballot.
Are you certain of that?
I am certain for at least the 3 million people that voted for the Cambodian for our party last year and this year. I mean, in 2013 and this year.
Yeah, I mean, and as things have unraveled, they've dissolved the party. Your father's in jail. People are in exile. People have restrictions on movement. There's a fear. You know, rights groups are saying Hun Sen is showing strong dictatorial qualities. Looking back for a second, has the CNRP done anything to give the ruling party the idea that you might have wanted to be a part of a color revolution? Because, you know, they've got charges against your father. They believe that you were colluding with the West. Are there any actions that you regret that have led us to this point?
Absolutely not. Their accusation is cynical, it's baseless, and they themselves do not believe that there's color revolution or there's any plan for color revolution. The reason why they have started the crackdown is because of this June election result in the local election, where we made unprecedented gain and we took power over the grassroots level in local government, and that's what really scared them. And if the trend continued, that would project a victory for the CNRP in 2018, and that's the reason why they are cracking down on us. And all of this invention, for example, the invention of colluding with a foreign power, whether that's the US or any other country, it is precisely designed to stop us from asking from international support. It is designed to preempt the international community from speaking out when they crack down on us. So basically, Hun Sen defines the rule. What is democracy? What is color revolution? But if the West, if the international community, if we live by his rule, then we live by the dictatorship rule. Election is considered a revolution to him.
Mona Vidya Kem, it's always a pleasure talking to you on the Newsmakers. I thank you very much for joining us.